Greetings and salutations, everyone. I hope everyone is still doing well, and welcome back to today's bonus upload. A bonus that is just jam-packed full of terrifying encounters and experiences. Also, some information that is centered around some shady dealings in business the government is up to, using drones either to keep humanity in check or to hunt cryptids, or possibly both. Before we get into it, a couple links. As many of you know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, channel membership, and the merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. Links to Patreon, PayPal, and channel membership is in the description below. Merch displayed directly under the video. Also, Dogman Frightening Encounters, Volume 1 through 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeff Nadolny. Those audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, links to which are also in the description as well. And finally, last but definitely not least, if you'd really like to help support the channel to continue to grow and go, simply subscribe. It does not cost you a cent. Click that like button, takes half a second. If you don't want to miss out on any of the informative uploads I put out daily, click that bell icon, and folks, please leave a comment. Why? Well, because all of these things really do help the channel to continue to grow and go. And yes, folks, they do matter. Now, everyone, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's jump into today's bonus, shall we? I'd like to start off by saying my encounter happened about 12 or so years ago. And I don't necessarily believe it was a Dogman, instead a sasquatch. I was 15, maybe 16 at the time, and during my spring breaks, I would go turkey hunting with my dad and a handful of others he had met through the years in the Ozarks to set up camp before each of us would go our separate ways in the morning. I'll be honest, I never really took note of any particular day or where we would hunt being a teenager. That just loved to hunt and was along for the ride with my dad. I remember the local name of the mountain, but that, as well as my own name, I'd like to leave anonymous, since we still hunt there from time to time. We had been hunting a few days and had woken up this particular spring morning, as usual, around 3 in the morning. I'd gotten dressed first and was stepping out of our camper door to walk the 10 yards or so to my great-uncle's camper, as we always did for breakfast, and general small talk before a long hike up the mountain to hunt for the day. As soon as I stepped down to the 2x4 box we had made to shorten the distance from the last step to the ground, I instantly was startled by this something or someone is here feeling. I've encountered quite a few bear at close range before, but I felt like it was something much larger. I turned to look to my right, and that's when I, for the most part, saw it. Granted, it was still dark, but we would always keep minimal light going in the camper to mostly preserve our night vision. But there it was. It was a massive black form next to the tree we hung our trash from 10 yards or so from the door. I saw it the same time it saw me. At first I thought it was a big boat of a bear, until it stood up. A black bear will very rarely stand over 6 feet my height, but I was on a roughly 6-inch step, and this thing still towered over me. It let out a quick few grunts. The best I can describe them as ape-like, and not like a bear. I've heard grunts a bear makes, particularly a sow with cubs nearby, and this thing made a sound much deeper and longer. We stared at each other for what seemed like minutes, but in reality it was only a few seconds before it bolted up the ridge by camp. My dad had walked out by then, and we could both hear this thing tearing up all the plant life in its path for at least a quarter of a mile before the sound died down. After we could hear it no more, my dad turned to me and whispered, "What the hell was that?" To which my only response was, "I don't know, it must have been a really big bear." And for several years we simply left it at that, even though I knew the outline was much too big to be a black bear, and the sounds were off as well. A few months ago, I came clean with the details of what I had seen to my dad, and he asked his buddies we had hunted with so many times before if they could guess what it was. One of the older hunters simply said to him, "Tell your boy welcome to the club." Turns out he's had multiple encounters hunting in the Ozarks his 50-plus years, and happens to find it funny when somebody has their first encounter. He's reported his sightings and been interviewed by the Bigfoot Research Organization, and to this day I'm still not entirely sure what I saw. I still want to think it was a gigantic bear that ran off on 2 legs after I spooked it. But I just can't convince myself of that story anymore. I still love the woods and will go on a hunt at the drop of a hat, but I always keep that image in the back of my mind and remind myself to never get too comfortable. Whether my story is worth putting on your channel is up to you, but that's my encounter with something I cannot explain. Again, if you decide to narrate it, please let me remain anonymous, as I would like to retain my clearance with the government. Today's second Arkansas subscriber encounter. This one is actually a boyfriend-girlfriend combo. He sent me an encounter first. I don't know if they were aware of each other sending encounters to me. I know they both listened to the show, obviously. But it was pretty interesting that they both shared their experiences, and we get to hear about it through each of their perspective. So let's get into it. First, I want to tell you that I'm a subscriber of yours, though I wasn't until I saw what I did just outside of the light that my work shed provides. It was back in April or early May. The night was misting heavily with cloud cover. It was so dark out that even with the light on, you couldn't see into the gloom. Now I'm telling you this because all that I could see was the eye shine. Now on to this location. I lived outside of Hot Springs, Arkansas, about 5 miles from Jack Mountain down a road called Amity. The road stretches for miles along what they call a mountain here in Arkansas. It's nothing but backwoods area out here. And there are no lights out here other than a house here and there. I think that people that live along this mountain know there is something out here because once it becomes dark, there's no one outside, even in the summer. So a little bit about myself. I am an outdoorsman, though I won't hunt with a gun. The way I was taught was that anyone can pull a trigger, but it takes skill to use a bow. I fish on a regular basis, and in places that you have to hike too often enough. My shop is used for rebuilding Japanese motorcycles and most of the time modifying my Ninja. I don't scare easily. I have lived all over the country, including Syracuse and even Oswego, and there is some really scary stuff out there. Really quick, I love this guy. He and I have talked many times, but Oswego and Syracuse are in New York, and I guess they'd be scary for people who have not been to New York, but the Cuse is the Cuse, and Oswego is a very interesting little creepy town, but when I first narrated this, I kind of found it funny. But like I said, I love this guy. He's a cool dude. So I just thought I'd share that with you, because, I mean, the Cuse, come on. It's the Cuse! I mean, I've seen some crazy stuff going down to NYC. I've actually stepped out from a train out of Penn Station, and I once saw a bum pooping in a cup. It was filthy. And then cockroaches all over the ground right after. Like, mind you, one sighting, the next sighting. So weird and gross. But on to the encounter. Now, as I was saying, that night was a dreary, heavy misting, cloudy night. It was so dark out that you couldn't see the shadows out 10 feet past where the light went out. The time was around 11:30, and my English foxhound came running up scared. She then sat down and tracked something with her head and eyes out in the darkness, heading down my driveway out past my Foot Four Winds elite camper. The whole time that she was doing this, she was growling. That was when it hit me that there was something out there. After a minute, everything went dead silent. No animal, no bird, no bat, no bug. I mean, you could have heard a pin drop into moist soil. That's how silent it was. A minute later, Ina, my dog, looked off to my left and started growling again. I grabbed my flashlight out of the shed and shined it in the direction that she was looking and growling. And about 15 feet into the sickeningly dark gloom was a set of eyes about 4.5 feet from the ground watching us. Now these eyes were not red or blue or even green. They were, when most people see them, they were a solid white, like there weren't any pupils on them. Whatever this thing was, it didn't seem to want to come into the light. If anything, it wanted to stay out as much as possible, as it seemed to back up even more to make sure that it was not seen at all. But when I turned the light on high, I could see the eye shine still watching up about from 25 yards further out. What was really scary was then it seemed to stand up as its height raised to at least 3 more feet. After what seemed like 10 minutes, even though it could have been 2 or 3, it closed its eyes, turned and walked away, making noise like it wanted me to know it was moving away from us. After about 10 minutes, my dog stopped growling and walked into the shop until I was done painting a bike, and then ran to the front door and waited impatiently while looking around in all directions, including under the camper. Once inside of the camper, I turned off all the lights, grabbed my blade that I forged, and waited for whatever this thing was to come back. But it didn't come back that night. I say that night because there are nights here where the dogs of the neighbors are going crazy all at once, where you can hear them through the closed windows and music playing, and then everything will go silent, and even my fiancé will bring this point up to me from time to time. His next email. So 2 nights ago, myself and my fiancée Michelle let Ina out to go to the bathroom at around 11 p.m. and we went with her with flashlights. She was acting normal when out of the blue she started growling at something again, and then darted about 30 feet out, then came to a stop with both me and Shell running after her. When we caught up to her, she was on the other side of the barbed wire fence that separates the property from our neighbors. Odd thing was, she was just sitting in front of several thick pine trees being silent as she could. She was completely petrified. As Shell ran up, she flashed her light into the trees, and there was a set of glowing amber eyes that ran deeper into our neighbor's yard, the ponderosa pines, and deeper into the shadows. As it ran, we both saw and the coyotes in the area went completely wild. That's when we heard a twig snap further in front of us. I turned on my light and took a few more steps closer to the noise and shined my light in the general direction of the sound. And there, standing in the dark area of the trees, was another set of yellowish red eyes watching us. It stayed in that spot watching us, ducked away from the light behind the tree several times before it slowly moved away. We both stayed there holding our weapons, her with her military-grade bat, me with my hand-forged bow katana at the ready. We watched this thing as it blinked several times. As we watched it, so we both knew it was actually alive, and not some trick of the eyes before it moved silently away. There's definitely something out here on this mountain. I don't know if it's Squatch, Dogman, or something else completely, but it is really creepy. When you talk the 25 feet over to the shed and feel every hair on your body stand at attention all at once. When you do end up doing some field research, I strongly recommend coming out to this area of Arkansas. The next email was from his fiancée. Hey, my name is Michelle. I'm a subscriber of your channel. I'd like to tell you about my unknown encounter that happened on January 19th, 2020 at around 12:05 a.m. Roughly. I was outside waiting for about 15 minutes until my mom pulled up with some food for me and my fiance. My fiance and I live outside of Hot Springs, Arkansas, where it's all woods and a mountain, and it's always dark out where we live. I first heard the sounds of coyotes, then I heard some howling noises. First thing first, I just want to let everyone know that I was just outside waiting for my mom to bring me and my fiance food. I saw a set of eyes, and I know that they were deer eyes, and there is normally not deer this low during hunting season here in Hot Springs, Arkansas, and I know that it has scared the deer down off the mountain that we live at the bottom of, and so that's my unknown encounter for everyone. Next email I received was from the fiance again. Hey, it's Michelle again. So on January 27th, 2020 at 10:30, I saw our Dogman. Firstly, I want to tell you about what it was like outside last night. It was around 10:30, maybe 11, dense fog mixed with misting rain. Fairly cool, dark outside. I went to look for our dog, Ina, and was looking out to the southern corner of the property where she likes to run off to during the daylight hours. It was here that I saw the eyes of something staring at me, about 6 to 7 feet off the ground. It stared at me for at least 10 minutes when my fiance was using the bathroom and I was getting worried about the dog Ina. It was the white-eyed one that was out there last night. It then ducked behind a tree that's only about 30 feet from our shed along our small creek that runs through the property. After it ducked behind the tree, it made a snap sound and then looked out at me again to see if I was still out with it. Everything else was dead quiet again, really creepy due to the darkness and the fog that was out. Not even the coyotes made a noise last night. I will say that Mike thinks that they are getting bolder. I don't know if it is because they don't see us as a threat or if they consider us as a trusted enemy. So Jeff, that's the rest of my creepy Dogman encounter. Next email was from Mike. I saw something through the window of my camper that faces the mountainside. The reason I know it's something is because I can see its eyes and a snout. On its left side, I can see a pointed ear. I can see its shoulders. Left arm is bent, hand and thumb pointing up. That's what I could see. Now, those of my religion would tell you that it is a child of Fenris, or a watcher of the forest. The weird thing so far is, when I was talking to my mom on the phone in Gaelic a couple weeks ago, it seemed to back away. I find this weird because Gaelic has strong Norse background to it. It also stays off the distance of homes around here and in the woods, at least so far. Next email I receive is from Michael again. So Jeff, here's what happened 3 nights ago. I'm not sure what it was that we both saw, but Michelle saw it first. She'd been sitting in the door calling out to Ina with a series of barks that she has been using to get her to come back to our place. That was when she looked up, then grabbed my lamp and went back to the door and shined it out to the woods beyond the workshop and called me over. I was playing Diablo 2, Lord of Destruction, so I told her to wait for a few minutes, but then came over to the door to see what she wanted. It was then that she pointed back towards this thing in the woods about 40 feet. At first, I thought it was just a stump, but then I caught its eye shine. It was a mix of reddish amber color and a bright yellow. Now, whatever these things are that are back here in Hot Springs have yet to show any violence towards me or her, so I went outside with a home-forged long blade and her with her bat just in case it was just an animal like one of the neighbor's pits that he lets roam free. So we headed out in the general direction, and the thing stands up on all fours, and the lights are on it as it does. It was solid black on all fours, stands about 4.5 feet at the shoulders. It's also about 6 feet long, and like I said, it had really creepy colored eyes. As we hit the tree line, it darted off, heading away from the mountain, but it was fast. By fast, I mean it was faster than any of the horses I've seen over at Oak Lawn Racing Track on the straightaway of any of those race days. It was moving through the trees, dodging in and out of them. But the really interesting part is that as it was running through the trees, I swear I heard it mumbling to itself in its own language. So that's what happened. I thought maybe you could shed some light on the subject. Final email from Michael. 3 nights ago, I went outside at around 9:30 p.m. It had just gotten dark and started to cool off. The days here have not been only hot, but muggy, humid. It just seems to zap the strength out of you. I no longer have my Ninja, and since then I bought a scooter, but the day I bought it, the belt broke on it. And so when I got a new belt for it, I waited for dark to go and try to put it back onto the scooter. And that was when I heard every cricket in the entire area go silent. I then took the flashlight and started scanning the tree line around me. Noticed a set of yellowish or more like amber-colored eyes watching me about 40 yards out behind the shed. I then went back inside the camper, got my phone and turned on the camera on it and set to video record and went back out there. So behind the shed and off to the right is a small gully where the creek runs through. It was there that it was crouched and watching me. The odd thing was, when I raised up my phone and started to record, it stood up and walked away from my property deeper into the forest. In the morning, I walked over to where the gully or large creek bed is, and it's at least 4 foot down a slope. That means this thing is fairly large. Also, beside the eyes, all I saw was its back legs. They were bent like a Canis lupus legs are. Besides this one thing, really nothing special has happened out here other than losing Michelle. Personally, I think it was just curious to see why it hasn't seen her around here lately and just came to see what was going on. I know that these things are smart and that it doesn't mean any harm, as it could have done so many times that it wanted to in the past. So Jeff, that's all that's happened here as of late. Of course, I sent him an email saying, hey, brother, email me anytime you need to, yada yada. I hope he's doing well. And if he does respond to my email in the future, I mean, this was last summer when I emailed him. Hopefully he's doing well, like I said, and there's no more activity around his area. Final Arkansas subscriber encounter. After listening to last night's video and you saying about your channel being screwed with a couple of months after some weird encounters, I have backed off investigating cryptids in northwest Arkansas area, but now it's a new year and it's time to get back into it. The weird encounters, I was at my neighborhood market, and going to buy a 6-pack of PBR tall boys. This guy came up behind me and said, "You should buy those King Cobra tall boys. They're great and cheap." He acted like he knew me. I've never seen this guy before in my life, and alarms start going off in my head like, how in the F does this guy know me? We started to talk a while after he's seen a United States Navy ball cap. He said he was in the military, special forces, and had been in different forests and jungles all over the world and trained new personnel for over 24 years. He told me his name was Mike, but the longer we talked, the more it sounded like he knew me or about me somehow. We finally went our different ways. While walking home, kept thinking, who was that? And did the government send him to meet me? And that was a nice way of backing off investigating the cryptids. Was I on finding out they were actually real and would tell as many people as possible? 2 days later, I was on my daily or evening walk, walking down to where there's a park called Rail Yard. It's walking and bike trails, 2 fenced-in dog parks, and a bike stunt trail park area for extreme bike stunts. I go down my second dog park, and Mike was standing there. He yelled, "Hey, John, how you doing?" It took me a few seconds to figure out that it was Mike from Thursday night. We talked our military history. Then, while he was talking about it, his times being out in the jungles and forests. So when I was able, I asked him if he had any cryptid encounters while being out there. He said, yeah, they're real as well. We talked a little longer. Then, right as we were about to part ways, I said, hey, I live over on 9th. Stop over and visit and we'll talk about different things. This is what seriously creeped me out. He said, yeah, I know where you live, and you'll probably see me again, and take care. I walked quickly home, thinking, was Mike actually retired from the military special forces? Or that was government or military high commanders. They're a nice way to warn me of backing off. Stop investigating these type of creatures. So I laid low for 2 or 3 weeks. Then, with all this brewing in my head, I got super mad. Said, this is public. Citizens need to know that these creatures are out there. And we have been lied to by our government. So if I'm getting killed by a bear attack or some other wild creature, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, laugh out loud, you will know it wasn't. I know this isn't a Dogman or cryptid encounters, but I think Americans and other world citizens need to know that there are creatures out there, and our government and other governments know they are out there as well. Alright, so we just wrapped up Arkansas. Let's step over to the next alphabetically in line state of California. Well, here it is. I'm not a big storyteller or anything like that. I'm from the San Fernando Valley in California. It happened where I live, in La Tuna Canyon. In the city of Sun Valley is a farmland area close to old roads to go to Palmdale and Bakersfield. So I'm coming home from work. I'm walking a 3-mile trip. No, this is regular city, but when I come down to where I live, it's a big landfill where they collect concrete, I believe. Anyway, that kind of an idea how it looks. So it's a lot of industrial areas until you get to the landfill area. That's where I live, in the farms. As I'm walking home, note, did I mention it's pouring rain and I'm on a skateboard? Yeah, California surfing. Anyway, as I go to the landfill, I had this weird feeling to walk because I was at unease. And what's so weird is I got stuck thinking deeply into life. Weird right then. I just started hearing the weirdest noise. It's a flapping. I look up and see a white owl with the wingspan of at least 7 to 9 feet. It was beautiful, majestic, but also very terrifying how I was able to see the wings sort of like how you would picture an angel. When I saw that, I booked it home faster than I could. I couldn't see its body. Well, that's it. It's not that juicy, but I'd like to share it with everybody. I know it was not a regular owl. So this final subscriber California upload is, he and I have talked. Very cool guy. He really started documenting government involvement, and what I'm about to share with you, well, it blew my mind when he shared it with me. Because wow, I mean, you know, smartphones are very smart nowadays. Maybe too smart for our own good, and that's all I'm gonna say right there. But check this out, guys. Hey Jeff, here's a short rundown of what's been happening where I live. I've been living on the Kings River Olson Bridge here in Reedley, California for 5 years since my divorce. There has been nothing strange since I came here to take care of my elderly parents. A couple of months ago, I would hear strange short howls at night, and they would not happen all of the time. At the beginning of October, I started logging all the activity in my iPhone in the notes section with a brief description. At the beginning of November, I contacted another YouTuber after seeing that they were doing videos in my area of what they thought to be Sasquatch activity. He told me that not far, less than a mile, there was another person that had video of moving shadows and rocks being thrown at them. He also said that I may be experiencing problems with my phone since I've contacted him, which I agreed that seems to be the government line in monitoring anything cryptid. So on November 1st, Surrey pulls up my river howl notes 3 times during the day, like somebody was trying to read them. Then on November 2nd, I had to believe was an infrasound zap at 7:30 to where I had goosebumps and my hair was standing up, and then an adrenaline rush, then to wanting to vomit with a hangover feeling. The outside was quiet that whole evening, and at 10:30, one dog barked, then quiet till midnight when I fell asleep. I was not the only person that experienced this. November 9th, helicopter flies by at 7 p.m. November 10th, Surrey pulls up the river howl notes again. November 12th and 13th, helicopter flies by at 7 p.m. Then at 7:30, a very quiet helicopter arrived north of where I live and was flying low in the area that the YouTuber said there was activity from the other person. I was videoing this helicopter on my iPhone and have 3 short videos. It flew south of where I live. Then it was over the cemetery, which is right by the river. It was heading my way when my phone locked up or jammed. It flew directly over our lot, and after it passed, my phone started working again. The next day, November 14th, I tried to watch the videos on my phone, and I just kept getting error notices on all 3 videos, but any other video I had played fine. After a restart on my iPhone, it all worked properly. As of today, everything was still going fine, but we will see what happens tonight. My address is redacted. You can Google it to see where I live and the river, how it goes north to south, and where the cemetery is. Remember, Surrey is always listening. Then there's a list of what I just shared, but individual incidences that happen. The same ones I shared with you. But then I attached this. Either he sent it to me, or we were talking about it, because it was attached to this file. Mysterious swarms of giant drones have started to appear in Colorado and Nebraska's night sky, and nobody knows where they're coming from. Drones fly over the base during a light show at Travis Air Force Base, California on July 5th, 2018. Mysterious swarms of giant drones have dotted the Colorado and Nebraska's night skies since last week, the Denver Post first reported. The drones appear and disappear at roughly the same time each night in swarms of at least 17 and up to 30. The drones appear to measure about 6 feet across. Local and federal government authorities say they have no idea where the drones are coming from. They do not appear to be malicious, however, and a drone expert says they appear to be searching or mapping out the area. Since the week of Christmas, giant drones measuring up to 6 feet across have been spotted in the sky at night, sometimes in swarms as large as 30. Denver Post first reported these mysterious sightings. Northeast Colorado, December 23rd. Since then, sightings have spanned 6 counties across Colorado and Nebraska. Phillips County Sheriff Thomas Elliott had no answer for where the drones came from or whom they belonged to, but did have a rough grasp on the flying habits. They've been doing a grid search, a grid pattern, he told Denver Post. They fly one square and then they fly another square. The drones, estimated to have a 6-foot wingspan, have been flying over Phillips and Yuma counties every night for the past week. Elliott said Monday each night, at least 17 drones appear at 7 o'clock and disappear at about 10 o'clock, staying 200 to 300 feet in the air. The Federal Aviation Administration told the Post it had no idea where the drones come from. Representatives for the Air Force and Drug Enforcement Administration and United States Army Forces Command said drones did not belong to their organizations. As the airspace where the drones are flying is relatively ungoverned, there are no regulations requiring drone operators to identify themselves. Elliott, however, said the drones did not appear to be malicious. The Post spoke with the commercial photographer and drone pilot Vic Moss, who said the drones appeared to be searching or mapping out an area. Moss said drones often flew at night for crop examination purposes. The drones might also belong to a local Colorado drone company which could be testing new technology. In the meantime, Moss urges residents not to shoot down the drones as they are highly flammable. It becomes a self-generating fire and burns until it burns itself out, he said. If you shoot a drone down over your home and it lands on your home, you may not have a home in 45 minutes. And there you have it, folks, today's bonus. I hope you all enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed sharing it with you. I'd like to thank you all for supporting the channel. It is, after all, your support that keeps this channel growing and going. And folks, what gives us a place and a chance to share our experiences and theories judgment-free? Just simply treat it with the respect that we all deserve. Thank you. Everyone, please stay safe, happy, healthy, and ever vigilant, keeping an eye on our children, pets, family, and friends. These creatures are real. They are out there and dangerous. Share this information with those you love and care about, and it may just help save their lives someday. Until next time, never stop asking questions. Never stop searching for the truth, and God bless.